jump in with our first topic, which is that Facebook, I don't know if you guys read about this, but Facebook, there was a mom in Memphis, Tennessee, who had a baby who died shortly after birth, and as part of her grieving process, they had posted pictures of the dead infant online. Facebook banned these pictures. Now, Facebook's community standards list 9 types of content that may be deemed objectionable: violence and threats, self-harm, bullying and harassment, hate speech, graphic violence, nudity and pornography, identity and privacy, intellectual property, and phishing and spam. What do we think about that? Is it okay to post those kinds of pictures? Should Facebook be allowed to ban you for that?
Yeah, you can't ban somebody just because of that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I mean, I personally know people who have, their children have been born stillborn or only lived a few minutes or hours, and it is, it's actually recommended now as part of the grieving process to take newborn pictures of, the typical mom holding the baby, so that there is a sense of, celebrating the life and helping you reach closure. I'm sure there was some troll out there that, repeatedly, reported it as spam or something. I just can't see that it was, a real, somebody at Facebook looked at it and said, oh, this is not appropriate. It seems more like a mechanical or, electronic thing.
Yeah, I wondered the same thing. How did they even come across that? Because the pictures that I saw, I couldn't tell that the baby was deceased.
Right.
It looked like
sleeping.
Right. So I agree. Someone would have had to have known what they were looking at, specifically reading the captions or the comments or whatever, and report it, which I don't know. I've seen people post stuff on Facebook.
Right. We've seen far worse than that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no.
Well, and what I'm wondering...
Go
ahead, Kim.
Oh, I was saying what I'm wondering is, I'm also wondering why it's not cutting to me when I'm talking. That's kind of weird. Something's going on with our camera, I think. But it is why would it, if it's not specific, I can understand if in Facebook's regulations or whatever, their rules that says you cannot post pictures of deceased people. Then maybe there would be some sort of grounds, to base that on. But, no. What rule did she violate?
Well, here's the interesting thing. I don't know if everybody's aware of it, but the Facebook's enforcement people, that's all farmed out of the country. These are people working in basically call center cubicles in places like India who are enforcing these rules. And so there may have been some kind of cultural thing in another country where somebody took offense to this.
But I find it funny that they're not commenting on it at all. If there's some sort of terms and conditions that she's violating, I think it would be simple enough, whether we like it or not, to say, listen, this is in violation of this, and this is why we did it. And, I think we're all kind of guilty, at least, I know I am, of you sign up for sites and you click that terms and conditions and you click agree just to get on with it, and you don't know what, the rules are. Next thing you know, you find out you're not supposed to be holding certain types of contests using Facebook. You're not supposed to do that. So, it's easy enough to break the rules, and I would even if I disagreed with it, I would respect it if they were able to just, come forward and say, this is what rule you've broken, and, and then that's that. But the silence, I think, is just kind of suspicious.
If Facebook themselves came out and said, look, this is what you did. We don't like this. I'm sorry, but, then fine, that's great. Do it. Understandable. But the other problem is, there are people who take pictures of their dead relatives and they're like 60 years old. I don't know why they do that, but they do it anyway.
Yes, right.
And they would probably put something like that on Facebook, and I don't know if they would care.
There's a case where there's an American Indian writer named Owl Going Back who they refuse to let have a membership because they say that his name is made up. And he has actually submitted his birth certificate to them, and they will still not let him have an account because his name sounds that unlikely. In the meantime, in my
what is his name?
It's Owl Going Back. First name Owl, last name Going Back.
Oh.
American Indian.
Yeah.
That's like a Harry Potter character.
That's not like an obscene made-up name. I mean, you know.
Well, no, it's no name. It is his name, and they won't let him have an account.
But I mean, people name their kids all sorts of weird stuff, you know?
I mean, that's like saying that Benedict Cumberbatch is a fake name, but we know it.
That's a Harry Potter name right there.
Yeah.
Next topic now, which is that John Travolta has been accused of sexual battery. I don't know if you guys read these stories, but earlier in the week, a masseur came forward and said that he had been sexually battered by John Travolta, which basically means he tried to make him touch him where he didn't want to be touched. And that the first accuser is John Doe, but the second masseur has now been revealed to be a man named John Truesdale, who's 40 years old, 250 pounds, a black belt. And he won't speak about the case, but in it he accuses Travolta of trying to make him touch his anus.
I don't believe it. Personally, I'm sorry. I know people are saying where there's smoke, there's fire. I think it's one of those things where, you know, there's enough, like, it's like the Richard Gere gerbil story. Do you know what I mean? There's enough.
That's true.
You stop.
He was there. He knows. I stole in the gerbils.
But you know what I mean? There's enough of those types of stories that I think if somebody really wanted to, you know, it's easy enough to kind of fabricate these types of things. Although I was watching Wendy Williams and she brought up a good point. She showed his house and she was like, if you're rich enough to have your own jet on your own runway in the back of your house, you're rich enough to have a masseuse travel with you. Like, why are you getting so many massages all over the country from strangers? Like,
he wants happy endings.
But, you know, the rumors about John Travolta have been going around Hollywood for years.
Decades even.
What I want to know is, why are they all named John? That's what I want to know. Go wrong.
There's something about that guy John. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't believe it. Go through and see. Do you guys believe it? I don't believe it.
No.
Sure,
I don't know whether or not I believe it or not, but it makes for funny conversation, that's for certain.
I mean, but really, like, size-wise, and this other guy is supposed to be, like, 250, like, this big guy, you're really trying to tell me that this black belt isn't going to, like, ninja his way out of there?
Right.
And he's just going to take it? I mean, like, I'm just trying to... I don't think so.
Well, there's a certain
I
amount of
don't
fame
get hit
for
by a pitch in baseball, you know? Like, okay, I'm going to sue his pants off.
Yeah, this reminds me of the forgotten film with Nicolas Cage, Facial Off.
Well, okay, you know what? I think Jessica brought up a good point, and this kind of goes to something else we're going to talk about, so maybe we can kind of segue into it, which is, I agree. I think that most heterosexual men who are not even curious about being with another man, if you are a black belt and 250 pounds, and John Travolta tries to get you to touch his penis or whatever he was trying to get, I just don't see it. I don't see you keeping quiet that long.
You do what Vinnie Barbarino wants you to.
And it goes to, like, the thing with Will Smith. Like, that reporter just tried to get a little lip action, and he slapped him. I mean, I think that's the natural reaction.
It wasn't a real slap, though. It was just kind of like, you know.
It was
been a real slap for me.
It was a very you know what it was? It was a very disrespectful slap. That's the slap you give somebody when you don't even, like, care enough to, like, if you know they're not going to do anything. Yeah, it's like a bitch slap. That's a bitch slap.
Well, now, you've seen the pictures of Travolta. You know what he looks like now. I mean, what if it hadn't been Travolta? Would the guy have reacted the same way if it was Chris Hemsworth?
Oh, well, then you do it.
Chris Hemsworth.
Like, it's not harassment if the guy is hot enough? Is that what we're saying?
No.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's always been my policy. I don't know about you, but
Absolutely. If the
Yeah,
guy,
I have to agree with that.
Everybody wants you to put the hammer down.
Son, okay?
Brings us to the other topic, which is Will Smith slapping that reporter. And for people who haven't seen the video, he was on a red carpet. the Moscow premiere for Men in Black 3. He's going down the red carpet. There's a reporter from the Ukraine who greets him with a kiss on both cheeks, which is very traditional in Europe. But then I guess his lips kind of brushed Will Smith's face, and he Will flipped out and was like, you know, what's your problem, buddy? And kind of just like giving him a little back slap, and said to another reporter, you know, I'm sorry, but he tried to kiss me on the mouth, and he's lucky I didn't sucker punch him. I also think that if Will Smith was a woman and she did that because a man tried to kiss her, everybody would be like high-fiving her.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, you know, it was face issue, you know?
Well, Will Smith is also, you know, one of the list of people where, you know, people want to out him, right?
Right. And Jada. They want to out them both.
Right.
I think what it was with Will Smith is that the reporter was supposed to go 90, and then Will Smith was going to go another 10.
He was an overeater son of a bitch.
Overeater son of a bitch, exactly. So.
But we need to point out too that this reporter, and it sounds like he doesn't know this, but that's his thing. Like his thing is doing red carpet. You know, and getting celebrity, like getting that sneak kiss on the mouth from celebrities. That's his thing.
Yeah.
So I think
so he got what he wanted.
Yeah, if you make that your shtick, you just got to expect that once you might get slapped in the mouth.
He wanted to get slapped.
No.
Like Kelly said, if somebody don't get slapped.
Some stranger, I don't think so. Just trying to come in for a kiss. And I'm not expecting it, especially, and just like some dude, I'd be creeped out.
Exactly.
Well, the only problem that I have with it is the delay, because he was delayed in slapping him. Because that's what makes it bad. Is I think
there was a moment where you had to say, did that just really happen?
And you kind of did that though, because it was somewhere else. It was like overseas, and like he went in and he did the whole, you know, the thing they do like this, and they kind of bump chest. And then they did the whole, you know, he was going for the two-cheek thing, but then the guy kept, like, bobbing and weaving and trying to get to the lips. And then when he realized what was going on, he was like, you know.
Yeah. Oh, hell no.
I don't blame him.
The
5 fingers to the face.
Look, it's a black thing. That's the best way to put it. It's a black thing. You know, like that. No.
Cold-blooded.
Please, for the love of God.
A pizzeria in Tampa Bay that has unleashed a fury because they put a sign saying, for the comfort and safety of everybody, if you allow your child to run, scream, or misbehave, you'll be asked to leave. Okay, and this is in a neighborhood called Seminole Heights, which sounds like it might be kind of a snazzy neighborhood. And so people are, like, castigating the restaurant owner, you know, like, how dare you tell us that we have to make our children behave in a restaurant.
God forbid.
But that's a big scandal there. I mean,
the way to say it, it's the way that you approach everything. I mean, honestly get annoyed when I see people just letting their kids run wild and it's like a giant daycare free-for-all thing going on. But I mean, kids are going to be kids too. You can't expect them to be quiet and just sit like an adult all the time, right?
Well, no, not all the time. But
mom and dad need to step in and say, look,
Absolutely.
You're out. And you need to behave properly. I think it was more directed at the kind of people that just let their kids run around the restaurant screaming and just doing whatever the hell they want, that don't have a handle on their kids is who they were addressing, especially if it was a fancier neighborhood.
Okay, that I can understand.
Yeah.
Kim, what were you going to say? Because I think you hit on something really important. I thought what you were saying was, yeah, we expect kids to be kids.
Yes.
But when you go out in certain situations, they have to behave.
Exactly. And you're not doing the children any favors by not teaching them that there's appropriate behavior in different environments, different circumstances. You cannot, you know, dance on the table and swing from the chandeliers at a restaurant. You can do that at your
Wait.
The strip club. Yeah.
It depends on the restaurant.
If there's a pole there.
And how hot you are. Rules.
Yeah, you can do that at Hooters.
It's all